What does it actually mean to be successful? For some people, success means money. For others, it's a prestigious career, a beautiful home, recognition, influence, or the freedom to live life on their own terms. We spend years being told what success should look like. Work harder, earn more, become important, build something impressive. But eventually, a deeper question begins to appear. What if everything you've been chasing isn't actually what makes a person successful? What if success isn't simply about what you achieve, but about who you become while achieving it? A person can have an impressive career and still feel empty. They can have money and still feel insecure. They can have thousands of followers and still feel completely alone. They can achieve goals that other people admire and still wake up wondering why they aren't happy. This is because external achievement and internal success are not always the same thing. External success is visible. Internal success often isn't. Nobody sees the discipline required to control your emotions. Nobody sees the courage it takes to admit you were wrong. Nobody applauds you for becoming a better person when nobody is watching. One of the biggest mistakes people make is allowing society to define success for them. You see someone driving an expensive car and you assume they're successful. You see someone with a large house and you assume they've made it. You see someone receiving an award and you assume their life must be extraordinary. But you are seeing the result, not the reality. You don't see their private struggles, their relationships, their health, their fears, their regrets, or the price they paid to get there. Success cannot be measured accurately from the outside. Imagine achieving everything you once wanted, only to discover that you don't recognize yourself anymore. Imagine reaching the top of a career you never actually loved. Imagine becoming wealthy while losing the people you cared about. Imagine becoming admired by strangers while becoming disconnected from yourself. These situations remind us of something important. Achievement without alignment can become another form of failure. True success requires asking not only, what can I accomplish, but also, is the life I'm building actually worth living? The first quality of a truly successful person is self-awareness. They understand that they cannot improve what they refuse to examine. They ask difficult questions. What are my strengths? Where am I weak? What habits are hurting me? What am I avoiding? What motivates me? What actually matters to me? Self-awareness isn't about constantly criticizing yourself. It's about seeing yourself honestly. You don't need to be perfect to be successful, but you do need to know yourself well enough to recognize when you're moving in the wrong direction. Successful people understand that their biggest competition is often their previous self. They don't spend their entire lives comparing themselves with everyone around them. Instead, they ask whether they are becoming better than they were yesterday. Are they more disciplined, more knowledgeable, healthier, more patient, more courageous, more capable of handling pressure? Progress doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes success is simply becoming slightly better at being the person you want to be. The second quality is consistency. Talent can create opportunities, but consistency turns opportunities into results. Successful people understand that small actions repeated over a long period can become incredibly powerful. One workout doesn't transform your body. One book doesn't transform your mind. One productive day doesn't transform your career. But hundreds of workouts, hundreds of hours of learning, and thousands of disciplined decisions can completely change your life. Success is often less about intensity and more about staying in the game. Consistency also means doing things when you don't feel like doing them. Motivation is unreliable. Some mornings you will feel inspired, other mornings you won't. There will be days when your goals feel exciting and days when they feel meaningless. A successful person doesn't depend entirely on emotion. They build systems, they create routines, they make important behaviors easier to repeat. They understand that discipline isn't punishment. Discipline is the ability to keep moving towards something meaningful even when your feelings temporarily disagree. The third quality is a willingness to learn. Truly successful people remain students. They understand that yesterday's knowledge may not be enough for tomorrow's problems. They read, they ask questions, they listen, they seek feedback, they learn from people who know more than they do. Most importantly, they are not embarrassed by the words, I don't know. Ego wants to appear intelligent. Growth requires admitting that you still have something to learn. One of the fastest ways to grow is to learn from other people's experience. You don't need to make every mistake yourself. Find mentors. Study people who have already accomplished something you want to accomplish. Read biographies. Listen to thoughtful conversations. Ask better questions. A wise person understands that experience is valuable, but borrowed experience can save enormous amounts of time. You can learn from someone else's decade of mistakes in a single conversation or a single book. The fourth quality is the ability to handle failure. Truly successful people don't necessarily fail less than everyone else. Often, they fail more. The difference is what they do afterward. They don't immediately turn failure into an identity. They don't say, I failed, therefore I'm a failure. Instead, they ask, what did this experience teach me? Failure becomes information. Rejection becomes feedback. Mistakes become instructions. The successful person doesn't waste pain. They extract something valuable from it. Another important quality is emotional control. This doesn't mean never feeling angry, afraid, disappointed, or frustrated. It means learning not to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. Successful people feel emotions deeply, but they don't automatically obey every emotion they feel. They know when to pause. They know when to walk away from an argument. They know when to sleep on an important decision. They understand that emotional strength isn't the absence of emotion. It's the ability to respond rather than simply react. Success also requires the ability to be alone with your thoughts. Modern life gives us endless distractions. There is always another notification, another video, another opinion, another argument, another piece of entertainment. But if you never create silence, you may never discover what you actually think. Successful people protect their attention. They create moments when the outside world becomes quiet enough for their own priorities to become clear. Another measure of success is the quality of your relationships. You can accumulate money and still be poor in the things that matter most. If you have nobody you trust, nobody you can call when life becomes difficult, and nobody who genuinely knows you, what exactly have you built? Successful people understand that relationships require attention. They call people. They listen. They apologize. They show appreciation. They make time. They understand that love and friendship don't maintain themselves automatically. Listening is one of the most underrated forms of success. Many people listen only while preparing their response. Truly successful people learn to listen to understand. They ask questions. They stay curious. They don't always need to prove they're right. They understand that every person they meet knows something they don't. Humility makes learning possible, and learning keeps you growing. Success is also about becoming useful to other people. Ask yourself, what value do I create? Who benefits because I exist? What problems can I solve? What knowledge can I share? What can I build? What can I contribute? Money is one way the world measures value, but it is not the only one. A teacher creates value. A parent creates value. An engineer creates value. A friend who shows up during someone's darkest moment creates value. A person can be deeply successful without being famous. True success is connected to craftsmanship. Whatever you do, learn to do it well. Don't constantly chase shortcuts. Develop pride in your work. Pay attention to details other people ignore. Become the person others can rely on. Reputation isn't built through one impressive performance. It's built through repeated evidence that you care about the quality of what you produce. Successful people also learn to say no. Every yes has a cost. Every commitment consumes time, energy, attention, or opportunity. If you say yes to everything, you eventually have no space for what matters most. Saying no doesn't mean you don't care. Sometimes it means you care enough about your priorities to protect them. A successful life isn't necessarily a life filled with more things. It can be a life filled with fewer things that matter more. Focus is another defining quality. The world rewards attention, but modern life constantly fragments it. Successful people learn to concentrate. They understand that meaningful work often requires uninterrupted time. They turn off unnecessary notifications. They stop multitasking. They give important tasks their full attention. The ability to focus for an hour on something meaningful can be more valuable than spending an entire day reacting to distractions. Another quality is resilience. Life will eventually test everyone. Plans will fail. People will leave. Businesses will struggle. Opportunities will disappear. Your health may challenge you. Your confidence may collapse. Resilience doesn't mean pretending these experiences don't hurt. It means developing the ability to recover. You bend without breaking. You adapt. You learn. You rest when necessary. Then you continue. Sometimes resilience is incredibly simple. It means getting out of bed, taking a shower, eating something, going for a walk, making the phone call you've been avoiding, doing the next necessary thing. You don't always need a grand motivational speech. Sometimes you simply need to keep moving until the emotional weight becomes lighter. Successful people understand that progress can continue even when they don't feel powerful. True success also requires knowing when to change direction. Persistence is valuable, but blind persistence can become stubbornness. Sometimes the smartest decision is to stop doing something that clearly isn't working. Change the strategy, change the environment, change the timeline, change the goal if necessary. Successful people aren't committed to one specific method. They're committed to learning and moving forward. They can hold a goal firmly while holding the strategy loosely. Financial success is important, but financial intelligence is even more important. Making money and keeping money are different skills. A truly successful person understands the difference between income and wealth, between desire and necessity, between temporary pleasure and long-term freedom. They don't need to appear wealthy. They focus on building stability. They understand that money is most powerful when it gives you options, security, and freedom to make decisions based on values rather than desperation. Success also means learning the difference between wanting something and needing something. Modern culture constantly tells us that the next purchase will make us happier, more attractive, more respected, or more successful. But endless consumption can become a trap. A person who needs constant external proof of success may never feel successful enough. True freedom often comes from discovering that you can be satisfied with less. Your physical health is another form of wealth. You can have ambitious goals, but your body is the vehicle carrying you toward them. Sleep matters. Movement matters. Nutrition matters. Recovery matters. You don't need to become obsessed with fitness. You simply need to respect your body enough to take care of it. A successful life becomes much harder to enjoy when your health is constantly neglected. Rest is not laziness. Sleep is not wasted time. Recovery is not weakness. A person who constantly works without recovering eventually loses the ability to perform well. Truly successful people understand sustainability. They know when to push and when to recover. They don't measure their worth by how exhausted they are. The goal isn't to work until you collapse. The goal is to build a life that you can continue living for decades. Success also includes intellectual curiosity. Keep asking questions. Keep exploring. Read things that challenge your assumptions. Learn about subjects outside your profession. Study history, psychology, science, art, philosophy, business, human behavior. The broader your understanding becomes, the more connections you can make between ideas. A curious mind remains flexible, and flexibility becomes increasingly valuable in a rapidly changing world. But perhaps the most important question is this: can you respect yourself when nobody else is watching? Can you look in the mirror and know that you're living according to your values? Can you keep promises you make privately? Can you admit when you are wrong? Can you walk away from something that violates your principles, even when doing so costs you money or status? Character is what remains when external rewards disappear. Success is also reflected in how you treat people who cannot give you anything in return. It's easy to be polite to someone powerful. It's easy to impress someone who can help your career. But character becomes visible when there is nothing to gain. How do you treat service workers? How do you speak to people who disagree with you? How do you treat people who are struggling? The way you treat people who cannot increase your status says more about you than the way you treat people who can. A successful person doesn't need to be the most impressive person in every room. They can celebrate other people's victories. They can give credit. They can say congratulations without feeling threatened. They can watch someone else succeed without turning it into a competition. Insecurity asks, why them instead of me? Security asks, what can I learn from them? Learning to genuinely celebrate other people's success is a sign that your own sense of worth is becoming stronger. Another sign of true success is contentment. Contentment doesn't mean giving up on ambition. It means you can appreciate what you have while still working toward what you want. Without contentment, achievement becomes an endless treadmill. You reach one goal and immediately create another. You buy something and immediately want something better. You achieve recognition and immediately need more. Contentment allows ambition to become a choice rather than an addiction. Perhaps this is the biggest difference between chasing success and living successfully. Chasing success is always about the next destination. Living successfully is about how you travel. It is about the person you become along the way. It is about whether your ambition makes you stronger or destroys your peace. It is about whether your achievements create freedom or create a prison that requires even more achievement to maintain. So, what makes a person truly successful? It isn't one thing. It's the combination of qualities that remain valuable regardless of how much money you have or how much recognition you receive: self awareness, discipline, curiosity, resilience, emotional control, physical health, strong relationships, financial responsibility, courage, humility, integrity, purpose, and the ability to keep growing. Real success isn't always visible from a distance. Sometimes it looks like a person quietly keeping a promise to themselves. Sometimes it looks like choosing sleep instead of another unnecessary distraction. Sometimes it looks like apologizing. Sometimes it looks like starting again. Sometimes it looks like leaving a career that no longer aligns with your values. Sometimes it looks like spending time with your family instead of chasing another opportunity. Success can be incredibly ordinary. At the end of your life, you probably won't wish you had spent every possible hour working. You may care more about the conversations you had, the people you loved, the experiences you shared, the challenges you overcame, and the person you became. Ambition matters. Achievement matters. Money matters. But they become much more meaningful when they serve a life you actually value. Maybe true success is having enough ambition to build something meaningful without becoming so obsessed with achievement that you lose yourself. Maybe it is having enough discipline to improve without becoming so rigid that you forget how to live. Maybe it is having enough confidence to pursue your goals without needing everyone else to approve of them. Maybe it is having enough humility to keep learning after you've already achieved something. The definition of success will be different for every person. For one person, it might be building a company. For another, raising a family. For someone else, becoming an artist, helping people, exploring the world, mastering a craft, or simply creating a peaceful life. There is no universal scoreboard. The danger begins when you spend your entire life trying to win a game you never chose to play. So define success for yourself. Decide what matters. Decide what you are willing to sacrifice and what you are not willing to sacrifice. Decide what kind of person you want to become. Then build your life around those decisions. Don't wait for society to give you a definition. Don't wait for someone else to tell you that you've made it. You get to decide what enough means. Because perhaps the greatest form of success is this: becoming someone you genuinely respect, building a life that reflects your values, having people you love and people who love you, taking care of your body and your mind, having the courage to change when something isn't working, having the discipline to continue when things become difficult, having the humility to learn, having the strength to recover, and being able to look at your life not because it is perfect, but because it is truly yours and say, I am proud of the person I became. That is success. Not simply having more, not simply being seen, but becoming more of who you were capable of becoming. So keep learning, keep building, keep improving, keep choosing what matters. And remember, the most successful life isn't necessarily the one that looks the most impressive from the outside. It's the one that feels meaningful from the inside.